Welcome to part 3 of Competency 9. In this video, we will work with the properties of congruent triangles. Okay, number 1. Given that the triangles above are congruent, what is the measure of angle D? Okay, well, the fact that they've told us that we have congruency, now we can start labeling corresponding angles, okay? So we have 61. So here, this means, I already have this color here. This means this angle is 61 also, okay? Now, 43, well, that means this angle is also 43 degrees, okay? All right, so this gives us some congruency. But now let's look at things here. Well, they want to know the measure of D. Well, we could find the value of X. It's not asking for X, but just a little FYI, that's the next question. But if you're looking at what we have here and we're looking for congruency, well then or looking at congruency, we know also the properties of a triangle say that all three angles equal 180. So to find D, what do we need to do right now? Well, this is what we need to do. We need to do 180 minus the 61 minus the 43, and that gives us 76. Okay. So we know we have 76 degrees is the angle measure for D. And that is option B. Okay. So if you know the properties and what is implied by congruency, you know, oh, hey, I just need to match up these corresponding angles and I can figure this out quickly. Now, let's look at number 2. It's a little different because now they're asking you what is the measure or the measure of X. What is the value of X? Okay. So we can use our calculator for that. All right. So we know that D corresponds to we have two corresponding equals here. Let me label this. This is actually D here and here. Okay. So we know it equals 76. Okay. So we just went through all that when we answered number 1. All right, so let's clear everything out. Go to table, clear that out. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say 2x plus 1, okay, and enter. Okay, I'm going to start at 0, enter, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use ask. I'm going to push enter, okay? Now, let me write all this down. This is what we have. We have 2x plus 1 equals 76. And what I'm doing right now is I'm going to use this left side that I entered, okay? And I will use ask, all right, and put in each of these guys. Oh, here, I could do this better. That looks weird. Sorry about that. I'm going to use each of these guys right here, one by one, and see if they fulfill a value of X, and in turn, it should get me 76. So let me show you what I'm doing here, okay? All right, so I've got ask. Let's enter again. Okay, now this is from a prior equation that we use. So delete all this out. You only have 3 lines, though, to work with. I'm going to go back up to the first one. Okay, and let's see what happens, okay? So if X is 55, I'm doing A right now. Do we get 76? No. Mark it out. Okay, now let's try 54.5. Enter. No, it is not 76. Mark it out. Okay, now we're down to the third line. Let's try this one. 37.5. Enter. Ooh, it equals 76. I'm going to say that is the answer. And it is. Think about it. 2 times 37.5, okay? That is also actually, I'm sorry, it is actually going to be 75. Plus one more is 76. Okay, so obviously we're good. But now let's look at, remember I said we only have 3 lines? So what happens if I say, well, 35 enter? Well, it just types over, and obviously that's not large enough of an X value, so that's not a good conclusion. Okay? All right, so think about what I just did. Right? I didn't go through all the manipulations. I simply used my calculator and my table function, and it actually works very nicely. But you can only do that when you're looking for the specific X, and your ABCD options give you what could be a value of X. Okay. All right. So let's go to number 3. Number 3, given that triangle ADC is congruent to triangle XYZ, and the measure of angle C is equal to 64 degrees, and measure of angle A equals 54 degrees, what is the measure of angle Y? Okay, so this is just simply knowing how the notation works with the properties, okay? So we have C as equaling, all right, so I'm going to draw an arrow to C. We know that that is 64, okay? And A is 54, so let me draw an arrow to that, okay? And that is 54. Okay, if I could write, life would be good. It just bounced me off. There we go. Okay, so that is 54. Now, we need to ask ourselves, what would D be? All right. Well, we know the properties of a triangle, right? So we know all 3 of these have to equal 180. So that's simply taking 180 and subtracting the 2 we have given, 54 and 64. That gives us 62. Okay. Now you're going to say, wait a second. That doesn't give us angle Y. Yes, it does. By the definition of congruent, A corresponds to X, D corresponds to Y, and C corresponds to Z. So we know that 62 is also the measure of Y by definition. Okay. All right. So that gives us D. Okay. This is a matter of knowing the properties of congruent triangles as well as understanding the notation. Okay. Which is a really good question. Simple once you know all of the facts, but difficult if you don't know the properties. Okay. All right. So let's look at number 4. Given that the same triangles are congruent, okay, the height of triangle ADC is 10, and the base of triangle ADC is 5. What is the area of triangle XYZ? Now they're congruent, so by definition, they will have the same area, okay? And we know that the area of a triangle is equal to base times height divided by 2. So this implies that we have 10 times 5, or 5 times 10, whichever way you want to see it, divided by 2. That is going to equal 50. Oops. Well, let me go ahead and write it all the way out. That is 50 divided by 2, which is 25. Okay, we already know this, so that equals 25. Now, here's the thing. If these are larger numbers, you need to put them in the calculator, okay? And if you haven't watched other videos with me, this is what you really need to do. Press your fraction button and then say your 5 base times height. Oh, I pushed the wrong thing. Sorry, guys, I slid over. Press that. Now push you're in your numerator, that's 5 times 10, arrow down, push your 2, and it will give you the correct value, okay, which is 25, right? So this calculator is very convenient with the fact that it already gives us a fractional setup, okay? So you don't have to mess with all that. All right, so now let's look at number 5. Okay, it says given two congruent triangles, which of the following statements is true? All right. Only the corresponding sides of a congruent triangle are equal. Okay, you should already say that's not true because we have just answered questions that involve corresponding, which was number 3 in itself, as well as other questions that say, oh no, like number 1 said that we had corresponding angles. So obviously it can't only be the sides. It has to also be sides and the angles and the area. Okay. Which we did in 4. And then this one says, B says only the corresponding angles. Well, I just said it can't just be that. It has to be sides, angles, area, perimeter, perimeter. Okay. This is C. All the corresponding angles and sides of congruent angles are equal. Okay. I believe that. Okay. Angles, and it says corresponding. That's a key word. Okay. I believe that. Now, D says none of these above. Well, no, I would say C. I like C. And because it says corresponding is specific. Okay. And that's what we did in prior questions. Now, there's more that we could say, but this is a good statement with a good start. Okay. All right. This is the last question in this particular video. Thank you for watching, putting up with me. I hope my different little calculator uses, okay, with the table help you out. And if you're not sure about them, go back, rewind the video, and watch again. Write it out all the way by hand and then stop and think about it. You'll see that it is actually a really good time saver once you start practicing with your calculator. Okay, and thank you for subscribing. Okay, liking and sharing us. Sharing is great because then maybe the person you share with will also subscribe. Subscribing keeps us on the internet free to everyone. Okay, all right, guys. Happy testing.